Hey everyone, I've got some more bad news for Tesla stock and NEO stock investors today, as Tesla has ramped up the price wars in China. Of course, these latest price cuts that came Sunday come after a short-lived truce on what the Chinese government called a reckless price war that was encouraged by the Chinese government, and the truce, and agreed upon by Tesla and 15 other automakers in early July. That truce was short lived, although when I made the video about that truce being ended, I was hoping that even without the truce, that the automakers in China would kind of agree to a informal truce where they would just agree not to slash prices and just keep prices where they are and ease the competitive pressure, because it's hurtful industry wide for all participants. However, in this news from Tesla, it looks like that's not going to be the case. It looks like Tesla is saying, nope, we're gonna continue this price war. We're gonna continue to go after market share and less focus on profitability. And that's bad news for Tesla and NIO. And I can mention a bunch of other Chinese automakers that it's also bad news for, but I wanted to limit this video to just focus on Tesla and NIO. But the reason this is bad news is because, and I've been talking about this in several of my videos on these price cuts, and this has been, I've lost count already in how many price cuts Tesla has announced on its cars, um, different models, different regions. And what usually happens after Tesla announces a price cut is that competitors also announce a price cut, because they don't just sit around and say, oh, Tesla's cutting prices, we'll just let them take our market share. That's rarely been the case. And historically, that's rarely the case either, right? You don't sit around and let your competition take market share. You retaliate in some form or fashion, and that leads to an intensity of competition, which is great news for customers because you get the benefit as a customer: lower prices, more promotions, better terms. But it's not good news for investors. It's not good news for investors because all these price cuts, all these incentives and promotions ends up working to bring down profit margins. And let me show you what I mean by that. So here I have pulled up Tesla's and NIO's gross profit margin over the last 3 years, and you could see these profit margins for Tesla peaked at around, let's say, mid early 2022, and for NIO it peaked at late 2021, and they've just been coming downward ever since. Tesla's gross profit margin in the most recent quarter was 18.19%, while NIO's has come all the way down to 1.52%. Now, you can also make the argument that Tesla is winning these price wars because its profit margin is falling less than the competition, and that might be true. I won't argue against that statement, but still, it's been hurt by the price war. So its profit margin, gross profit margin, has fell from a peak of around 29% down to 18%. Now that's a smaller decline than what NIO has faced and what maybe some others have faced, but it's still down and its profits are still down. And I wouldn't be surprised if it continues moving downward because the volume is not picking up enough after the price cuts. It's not seeing a big jump in volume enough to offset these price cuts. Although Tesla's most recent quarterly sales figures were excellent, the company has forecasted third quarter sales to not be as excellent as second quarter. Now, it gave some other reasons for those declines, but it's hard to ignore the fact that these come at the same time the price wars are intensifying. So, Tesla has made another move, cutting prices, lowering prices on its Model Y, and it's also lowering prices on the Model 3, although it's saying that is more of a temporary decrease, an insurance subsidy, as it's calling it. So now it's time to look out for what the competition is going to do. How is NIO going to respond? How is BYD going to respond? How is XPeng, Li Auto? How are all the automakers in China going to respond to Tesla's move? And so that's going to dictate what happens next. If the competitors lower prices at the same or even more than Tesla, then that advantage of having a lower price goes away, because now customers can look at the competition and say, oh, they've lowered prices even more. That's an even better value. So it remains to be seen, but it looks like these price wars are not getting any better, unfortunately, for Tesla stock and NIO stock investors. But that's all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.